last video, day 6 of my 7-day Christmas card series, I featured some cards that were very clean and simple, quick and easy. Today's video is complete opposite of that, and I'm going to be sharing some fun over-the-top Christmas card designs. I hope you enjoy them. Let's start stamping. Speed things up in today's video because I'm going to be making 2 cards. I have done all my die cutting because there is die cutting. Die cuts are the star of the show on today's 2 cards. So for both cards, I pulled out my Grassy Grove bundle, which has the Grove dies, which is on page 163 of our current 2022-2023 annual catalog. And this is actually the same die that I used for our wedding invitation. So if you missed that, that's up here on my YouTube channel. So the other set of dies that I pulled into today's card, I didn't realize had retired. They coordinate with the Beauty of Friendship stamp set that was carried over from our last catalog, and it did have coordinating dies, or does have coordinating dies, but I did not realize that they weren't carried over into our current catalog. So this is our older catalog. This shows you the dies. I use these little bird dies right here, so you could use that, you could use what you have. And then lastly, I pulled in cottage wreaths, and all I did for these cards was I stamped my little hollies and cut them out with the coordinating dies. So having said that, let's move on to the first card, and you can see I've got all my bits and pieces here. I used my rectangle dies to cut out the frames. So all I did was set my rectangles inside of each other. This is real red cardstock, and cut them out. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this one, but definitely going to use the larger of the two on this first card. So here are all the pieces I've just been telling you about. So this is cut from the Grove dies, and this is early espresso cardstock. This is cut from the Grove dies. I have my deer that I cut from basic white cardstock, also from the Grove dies. Awesome set of dies. My 2 little birds from my real red cardstock. Actually, I have a third floating around because I cut an extra one. So these are the ones, guys, I didn't realize had retired these dies. Some of you may have this set at home. Some of you may have different little bird dies that you can use. My little holly that I stamped and cut from the cottage wreath dies. So I did cut these 2 pieces out of my diorama dies, but I don't think I'm going to use this second one. I think I'm just going to use the larger, and I'm going to use this to create my sky with some clouds. Now I do have a cloud punch. I don't have that, so I'm just going to use my diorama die. So I'm just picking up some balmy blue ink on my blending brush. I'm going to go off on my paper here to make sure it's not too dark. And I'm just going to add some ink. Clouds are always so much fun. So you may think those are like the worst clouds I've ever seen, Tina. They're not my best, but they will absolutely totally work for this card, and that's just a really fast, fun way to keep some white on your sky background. So I'm going to put my magnet down on my Stamparatus, and now I'm bringing in these trees from the Beauty of Friendship, and I'm going to stamp one down here. I'm going to ink this with Evening Evergreen. I'm going to position the second stamp on top, and this time I'm going to stamp it with Garden Green. Okay, I'm going to move this stamp over here. And the Garden Green. Now from the Grassy Grove, I'm going to use these trees, and I'm going to stamp them so they look like they're off in the distance. But I just wanted to have a little variety of trees on here. So now I'm stamping these with my garden green, but I'm going to take my early espresso marker and just go down and I'm just going to kind of tap this a little bit willy-nilly. And I'm going to do the same thing here, and I know I'm stamping right on top, but that's okay because this is a darker color, so it's going to hide in there a little bit. Okay, so that's the background. So now I'm bringing in my die cut, and I'm going to take my white craft ink pad, and I'm just going to, I'm using the corner to just kind of highlight around some of these branches, make them look a little bit snowy. Notice I didn't go all the way down the trees. I just stuck to the upper portion. You can see that. And now I'm going to take my white embossing powder and sprinkle that on. And I also did not use my embossing buddy because I knew I would be fine with little extra embossing powder on here because that's going to add to the look of the snow. So I'm going to set that with my heat tool. So now I have these two die cuts, and I'm going to take my Whisper White and do exactly the same thing that I just did to my trees. It's just to add a little bit of texture with the embossing powder. So now it's time to build our scene. So I'm going to take this one right here, and I'm going to glue that down. I'm going to glue it right here. Okay. Then I'm going to take this piece and put that on with Stampin' Dimensionals. And that's going to get set right on top. Okay. And then this piece is going to get put on top of this with dimensionals. So I'm going to set that aside and bring my deer in. Now I'm not sure if I'm using all 3 deer, but I'm going to color them just in case I want to use them. And if I don't use all 3 on this card, I'll have them for a different card. I'm going to color my deer, I'm going to start with my crushed curry on my blending brush. And I'm going to color the entire deer. Now I'm pulling in some Cajun Craze. Now I'm going to use soft suede. here are the deer colored and ready to go on my card. So I'm going to put this guy on first. So I'm going to take a mini dimensional and just tuck it here, and some of my glue on his legs. And I think I'm going to put this deer right there, kind of behind the snowbank. Same thing, I'm going to put dimensional here and then glue on the legs. And little baby deer is going to go right here. And I'm just going to use glue. I'm not going to use any glue or dimensionals on this part. So this rectangle frame measures 3 3/4 by 5. This is 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm actually going to go trim this so that this will fit nicely around it. Okay, so that's going to fit now, but there's a lot of brown up here, so I want to add some more embossing. So I'm going to take my white ink pad again and just go around. I'm just going to go ahead and glue this frame right on top. So now I have my little birds, so I'm going to pop them on. I'm going to take my black marker and the journal tip. I'm just going to dab on a bit of black for the eyes. And I'm going to do that just on this one deer and do his nose or her nose. And this one here. So this one can look like he's looking behind them. Oh, and their beaks also, which you can't really see, but I've decided I want this one on the card with the dimensional. My card base is real red. This measures 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2, and then I have a piece of early espresso, and this measures 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and put that onto my card. And then glue this down. So I'm going to bring in Peaceful Deer. Now this stamp set has a coordinating punch for this shaped deer here. This would also be a great stamp set if you don't have these dies, because if you have this set and the punch, you can absolutely use those. But I'm going to use these for the sentiment and also for stamping inside the card. So I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of basic white, and I'm going to stamp It's the Best Time of Year, and I'm going to stamp it with Early Espresso. Oop, that's a little bit too close to the edge. Do it this way. And I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine using the smallest rectangle, stitched rectangle die. I'm going to put that on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And to finish the card, I'm going to bring in my Snowfall Puff Paint. And this is just going to add some more texture. And I'm making sure I don't want to cover up that embossing because I like the glossiness of it for this card. I actually decided I want to add some more. Now I'm going to stamp the inside of my card. So I have a piece of paper that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm sticking with the Peaceful Deer stamp set. Again, I'm going to ink my stamp with Early Espresso. I'm inking my Merry Christmas with my Real Red. And then I'm going to ink this bunch of trees with my Garden Green and bring in my Early Espresso marker like I did earlier, just to dab some brown on there. I think we'll do it right here. And now I'm bringing back the tree that I used on the front, Garden Green. And my Early Espresso. And then I'm using the deer from the Grassy Grove, and I'm just going to ink it with Crumb Cake. I'm not going to use a whole bunch of colors for the inside of this card. I'm just going to add some blue around the edge. There's the completed card. It has so many elements going on. It's got the glossy embossing, which looks super cool. It's got the puff paint, the die cuts, of course, the sky in the background with the trees peeking through. This card was a blast to make. Really, really fun. Not a card for mass producing, I wouldn't say, but definitely for somebody special in your world. And I do believe I'm going to be sending this card to my dad and his wife for Christmas this year. Now, if this is just a little bit too much work for you, I'm going to show you how you can create a beautiful, elegant, white on white card using the same dies. So this card is going to come together really, really fast, and this is a great design for mass producing, and it's still over the top. So you can see I have run this 4 by 5 1/4 basic white cardstock through an embossing folder. This is part of our wintry embossing folder. So there's a set of 2. There are, you can see the pine boughs and the snowflake. Okay, so I just ran that through. Then I have my basic white card base, and I'm going to glue this right on. Next, I have the same die cut, also done in the white, and this measures also 4 by 5 1/4, so I'm going to put some dimensionals behind that. Got those snowflakes coming through, and this is going to get put on top of that, also with dimensionals. The deer are going on next. A couple of birds for a pop of color. Forgot to put my holly on, so I'm just gonna tuck the holly in underneath the bird. Here, wink of Stella. That was super mega fast to make, and this is beautiful. It's elegant. You don't have to add as many birds, of course. You can play around with it, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful card. It's super elegant. I really hope that this is coming out nice on the camera, because sometimes the lighting when you're dealing with white cards, it's not the greatest, but it is beautiful. There are my two over-the-top Christmas cards. I love them both, and they were just such a pleasure to make. Really, really enjoyed making those a lot. So this video concludes my 7-day Christmas card series. This is the first Christmas card series I've ever done, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've given you lots of fun techniques and ideas and inspiration for your Christmas card making this year, and also for your everyday all occasion cards, just by switching out your Christmas sets and dies. And yeah, I just hope you have a lot of fun making your Christmas cards this year, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button. It really helps my channel, and the little bell next to it, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Take care. I appreciate you, and happy stamping.